Thom Hartmann here with you, and William Yeatman is on the line. He's with the Competitive Enterprise Institute, CEI.org is their website. William, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
Pleased to have you with us. You're an energy policy analyst, I should say, with CEI. Back 2 or 3 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that the Environmental Protection Act, which brought into being the Environmental Protection Agency, required that agency to regulate gases that are harmful to human health, and that greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, because of their impact on the planet, were ultimately harmful to human health, and therefore the EPA had to regulate them. The Bush administration chose to ignore that. The Obama administration, God bless them, is deciding to go ahead with that. And I understand that conservative think tanks like Competitive Enterprise Institute and organizations funded by the petroleum industry and their friends, patrons, and wealthy donors who make their money off coal, gas, and oil are quite upset about this. Why?
Two quick points of clarification, actually 3 points of clarification. One, we're a Competitive Enterprise Institute. We're a free market, so we're a libertarian think tank, not a conservative think tank.
Okay.
We're not funded by oil interest. We were through 2005, but we're so principled that they dropped us. I guess we were too toxic because we were demanding that they return their subsidies.
So you're no longer getting money from foundations funded by people like David Koch,
Definitely, but just not Exxon, not the oil companies, like you said.
Okay, so you're still getting money from the oil billionaires.
Oh, please, and we'll take as much money as they're willing to give us to continue our efforts fighting for economic liberty. But the third point is that the legislation you alluded to, it wasn't the Environmental Protection Act, it was the Clean Air Act.
You're right.
And
thank you.
The Supreme Court didn't rule that the EPA had to regulate greenhouse gases. What it ruled in Massachusetts versus EPA, which is the aforementioned Supreme Court case, it ruled that greenhouse gases could be considered a pollutant under the Clean Air Act, and therefore the Environmental Protection Agency could regulate greenhouse gases.
But the Clean Air Act requires the EPA to regulate pollutants.
Well, there's actually a great deal of deference given to the administrative body on that particular issue. So it gave them three options, which was to either declare, not necessarily regulate, begin the process by which you would regulate greenhouse gases by making an endangerment finding, which is what the administration did on Monday, the Obama administration. Right. Or it could not make an endangerment finding, but it would have had to have issued a reasoning why. Or it could have outright delayed. Again, there's a great deal of deference. Which is what Bush did. The Bush administration, given that the author of the Clean Air Act, John Dingell, representative from Michigan, has stated on the record that the Clean Air Act was not written. Remember, it was written in 1970, back when global warming was not as of yet on the radar. Right. That in no way was the Clean Air Act or any of its subsequent amendments they were meant to regulate smog, particulate emissions, and whatnot. Right. It was not Congress's intent to regulate greenhouse gas emissions because it would create a complex regulatory morass. And we can talk about that in a bit if you'd like. It's fairly complicated, but. So
we've got about 4 minutes here.
Well, if anyone were interested in learning about the ramifications of this rulemaking, please check out our website. You already said
at CEI.org. But William, here's the thing that I don't get. And maybe it's just that I guess probably the bottom line is that you guys don't agree that carbon dioxide and the perfluorocarbon and the chlorofluorocarbon, and
all those syllables.
And the other 4 or 5 gases that are part of this finding by the Obama administration, the chlorofluor and the fluorinated hydrocarbons are the ones that are nuking the ozone hole, as well as being greenhouse gases. That these things are somehow harmful to human health. Is that the point? Is that your position that we shouldn't care because it's not a problem?
Oh no. Well, the position would be, and again, I'm not a scientist. I'm a policy analyst, so I look at policies. I quantify the cost of policies, and I compare those against the expected benefits. So the question that we would pose is, given that Congress specifically said that the Clean Air Act, the author of this legislation said it is not applicable, should not be applicable to greenhouse gases.
Yeah, but what the author said is irrelevant. It was passed by Congress and was signed by the president.
Well, that was Congress's intent. intent.
And it wasn't authored by one guy. No piece of legislation ever is.
Henry Waxman indeed took place in it as well. Many legislators did. But the point is, we know that the Congress's intent was not to regulate greenhouse gas emissions.
Sure.
At what point do these policies become? At what point do the costs exceed any of the potential benefits? And those are the kind of questions we're asking. We know that by regulating, by not having the legislator deal with climate change, however the people may so decide, by having the executive branch seize these powers, that there are regulatory ramifications, that there are costs.
But those powers were given to the executive branch. In fact, the executive branch is required to exercise those powers by the Clean Air Act.
Oh, yes, sir. If I may interject, they are not required. Again, deference is given to the administrative agency. In this question, the Environmental Protection Agency. They can proceed or they cannot proceed. It's up to them.
Right, but well, okay, I'll give you that. But here's why. And I realize there are some Democrats who are quite hysterical about this too. They're concerned that, and here's the bottom line, is that if nothing comes out of Copenhagen, if nothing is done legislatively, if Congress is in gridlock, if you've got the entire Republican Party in the Senate, all of the Republican senators, and probably 10 or 15, at the very least 4 or 5 Democratic senators who are in the pockets of big oil, big coal, big gas, and the fossil fuel industries, or those associated with them, and they are unwilling to pass any kind of legislation that's actually going to cap or regulate greenhouse gases. The only way that the administration can actually do something about this is through the EPA, and they have the legal means to do this. And so, what do I've heard rumors that there are efforts in Congress to strip the EPA of this kind of power. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, indeed we are. I mean, remember, cap-and-trade legislation to deal with climate change has already passed through the House of Representatives and is pending in the Senate. So why not give the Congress, representatives of the people, an opportunity to act on this issue before the administration proceeds preemptively?
Because A, because we're having a crisis. B, because cap and trade is just a giant gift to Goldman Sachs. It's another gift to the banksters.
I agree. Well put, and that's exactly right.
And C, we should simply, if we're going to say that carbon is a poison, then let's put a tax on it. Let's do it the same way we do with tobacco.
Irrespective. Well, I mean, we can debate on what the best way to weigh the cost and benefits of action or not action. We can definitely talk about that. But in this instance, we know that proceeding down the regulatory path, it's an unruly beast. What we're talking, I mean, the EPA.
But at least it's a beast.
Well, again, we can discuss the costs and benefits, but we do know it leads down a regulatory morass, a regulatory nightmare, by which ultimately the executive branch would have almost unlimited powers to regulate both mobile sources and stationary sources.
At a certain level, they're also answerable to we the people. We're talking with William Yeatman of Competitive Enterprise Institute, CEI.org. William, we've got a half a minute left. If we're talking about the possibility of within 100 years the end of human life on this planet, even a 1% chance. I think if there was a 1% chance that an airplane would fall out of the sky every single day, you'd never get on another airplane. If we're talking about something like that versus cost, how could any sane person even use a phrase like cost-benefit analysis?
Well, I mean, I would compare it, again, 1% chance that humanity is going to end. I would say even that's a gross exaggeration. But, again, I'm not a scientist. From what my limited understanding is that's not the case, neither here nor there. But I would compare it perhaps to a nuclear catastrophe. How close did we come to the world actually ending in 1963 with the Cuban Missile Crisis? Did we shackle the economy? I mean, necessarily to address what I would suggest is greater than 1% chance of humanity actually ending? No, we didn't. So,
well,
again,
I would say actually, yes, we did. We had massive military spending but that's a whole other. Okay, William Yeatman, CEI.org. You can read all about it over there at Competitive Enterprise Institute. Thanks, William.
Thank you, sir.
Good talking with you.